especially in New York, is pretty fast paced. If I don't achieve a result with somebody in the first few weeks, a few months, they're probably not going to stay. So it's all designed to achieve a safe result in the shortest amount of time. Best thing, one time, to add to what Pete said, at the time I had a black rubber floor. One of his clients was laying there and he gets chalk and he draws the chalk line around and we chalk marked there for a couple of days. It was hysterical.
Lawrence Neal here, and welcome back to High Intensity Business, your one-stop shop for growing your hit business and fueling your passion for high-intensity training. This is episode 497. Today, we welcome Lou Abato onto the podcast. Lou Abato is the CEO of the Ultimate Training Center located on Madison Avenue in New York City. With an impressive career in personal training spanning 45 years, Lou has personally delivered over 200,000 training sessions, which, by the way, Lou, I worked out as an average of at least 85 sessions per week, remarkably. And he now conducts 120 to 140 sessions every single week. Since opening its doors in 1997, the Ultimate Training Center has become a hub for individuals seeking super slow strength training. Lou works with a diverse clientele, including 50 executives from 30 national and multinational corporations. Adding to his extensive experience in high-intensity training, Lou has also competed as a natural bodybuilder, and I've been looking through some vintage YouTube videos in prep for this. Lou, welcome to the podcast. Really excited to talk to you today.
Thank you, Lawrence. Thanks for having me.
You are very welcome. I'm just going full screen here. Okay, so let's just, we were just talking there, just you telling me so much interesting stuff, and I was like, Lou, stop. We need to record, and we need to get this on the podcast. But tell us about the Ultimate Training Center. Sounds like an amazing facility you've got going there. Just tell us all about it.
Well, opened in 1997. I had been working on various locations here in Manhattan, and I was lucky enough to get a space and open up my own facility here, fully equipped with a full line of medical equipment, and a full line of super slow equipment, along with some various vintage Nautilus, freeweight options also, all designed to get the best result in the safest, briefest amount of time for each client that comes in the door. Because that's really what it is. Especially in New York, it's pretty fast paced. If I don't achieve a result with somebody in the first few weeks, a few months, they're probably not going to stay. So it's all designed to achieve a safe result in the shortest amount of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You said something to me. You're so quotable. You said so many interesting lines in the preamble to this that we have to discuss. And one of them really resonated with me. You said, if after 3 to 4 months, I don't get a referral from a new client or one of my trainers doesn't, they or I haven't done my job. Talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, well, I kind of discovered a lot of years ago that, people can come into your facility, whether it's yours or not your own. They can find it clean or dirty, or they can like you, hate you, whatever the case may be. If you don't get that desired result and change that person's physical appearance, they won't recommend you, or they may recommend you, but they won't be able to bring another client in unless they physically look different. So my whole job is to get enough effort out of them to get the result that will change them physically, that will then generate the next client for me. Because like I said, in the first few weeks, they can come in and say, the place is great. He's tough, he's mean, he's nice, whatever the case may be. If they don't look different in the first few months, they're not going to recommend or be able to bring in the next client. And that is how I run. I haven't done an ad in anything, even online, no ads at all, since 1997. So all by word of mouth. If I don't achieve a result, one-on-one, I'm not going to get the next client. So
that's interesting. So you feel strongly that there has to be a change to their appearance. Is that because obviously the individual that they're going to refer in is usually saying, hey, what have you been doing? Like, how do you look so great?
The body's going to change so much, whether it's, leaner, bigger, stronger, day-to-day living gets easier for them. I'm the topic at the dinner table with their families, with their friends, and I get talked about so much. And then the person looks at them and goes, oh my God, your body looks amazing. What are you doing? And that's how that person will come in. And the person they bring through that recommendation will really stay, because at least they'll give me the chance then to give me a few months with them as they did with their friends. They'll see that it actually works versus verbally just hearing about it,
Yeah. So what is interesting is we have colleagues who probably focus on more of maybe a different demographic, maybe a more senior population, where they might not see a radical change in their physical appearance. But as we know, there's so much going on below the surface and that improves the result of strength training. Do you think they're going to have a much harder time to generate referrals just due to that? Yep.
My demographic is 50 or older, probably mainly. So it's not
Okay.
super young at all. An executive who can afford this training probably has a very busy life, kids, family, 10, 12-hour workday, whatever the case may be, need to come in and get a result in the briefest amount of time, typically are not that young. So you still have to make a change in their physical appearance, whether it's their posture at their desk, being a more upright human, or losing 5 or 10 pounds, or whatever the case may be. Again, it's that physical appearance that needs to change. And it's also, like I say, that ability to get enough effort out of somebody. People come in and they want this great result, but they don't realize it takes hard work. Nobody
Right.
realizes at the start. Everybody's looking for the hack, the easy way out, the bullshit that's out there. It's about getting that hard work done safely to produce the result the quickest,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And, do you touch on nutrition at all? Or do you keep out of nutrition?
Really basic. I mean, I've had nutritionists that I recommended. Before COVID, we had 2 people that were in New York City who were good. They're no longer here. I usually recommend very basic stuff like, don't drink any calories. If you can leave out the white sugar, white flour. And past that, I rarely give anything else, whether it's intermittent fasting, which is popular now, or keto, paleo. Years ago, it was Atkins, whatever diet plan you believe in. If it's something you can stick with, they'll get a result. And if you cut your calories, however you want to cut your calories. I know all about insulin resistance and all the other stuff that's out there. But if somebody cuts their calories, gains some muscle, they get leaner. That's it.
Yeah, wise
I
words.
ask so much effort out of somebody when they're here that sometimes to get super strict dieting beyond those basic 3 things I said, it's hard to get everything all at once. Because I ask so much of them when they're here, they got to mentally prepare to come in this door. So to worry about, a meal plan per day, at least initially can be kind of tough. Eventually it gets easy, to eat a little less once you visibly see your result,
So the reason I bring this up is because obviously if you change nothing else and you start strength training and you work hard and you're consistent, you're going to lose some body fat, right? Because you're going to build more muscle, increase metabolism, get better metabolizing body fat, etc. And also we know that it tends to lead to better habits in terms of more activity and maybe people watch their diet more, whatever. But from what you're saying there, it doesn't sound like you offer any type of nutrition coaching service. I don't think that you should, or I don't think many of our colleagues necessarily should, but you do give a few pointers because it supports the training. But this is interesting, isn't it? Because nutrition is somewhat out of your control, but yeah, you know how important it is for your clients to have improvements to their appearance to the extent that they can drive a referral. Nutrition plays such a big role in that, right? Losing body fat is it's almost like everything, right? So how do you think about that? Given that you're not doing nutrition, how can you be so reliant on there being such a significant physical change? Or do you find that your clients will improve their nutritional habits just as a result of listening to you and working with you?
right? I find that the harder I train somebody, the more likely it is they're going to eat better.
Right.
Again, I ask for so much effort that if they're eating donuts, they know they're going to crash. If they give me a more sustained energy source, whether it's oatmeal or high protein, green diet, whatever the case is, if they are eating better, they have more energy to give me. So if they're eating really poorly or drinking a lot of alcohol, they're going to crash pretty hard when I train them. So just that instant will set something in their brain, and allow them then to eat better on a more consistent basis, because I know they're going to have to, one, be well rested, be well hydrated, be well fueled before we work out if they want to get the best result. Here I am taking your money and asking for all this effort, and you're going to come in and not eat well or not be well rested or drink too much alcohol or be dehydrated and sacrifice your performance here. Again, typically people train harder, they eat better, drink more water, all that kind of stuff just kind of falls into place, usually, not
Not
always.
always though.
Not always. You get exceptions to the rule who have, exceptionally good genetics, who can live a poor lifestyle and still be pretty strong. I've seen that to be true here and there, not often though.
So yeah, great answer. I mean, how is it? It's interesting to hear because it sounds like you're pretty. I love your honesty and the way you talk. You use very sort of simple language, and it makes it really easy to understand what you're saying. And are you like that with clients? You're very kind of upfront, honest, matter of fact. Like, hey, if you want to do this, you've got to do this as well. Before we were hit record, you're in New York City. You got clients who are like, right, I've got, I mean, what's your session? 30 minutes, is it on average? Is it
20,
something like
30. Yeah,
20, 30, right?
well, yeah, nobody asks for more time though. That's for sure.
So, right, yeah. So people are
No,
in or
good
out.
time.
Come on, Lou, let's get it. Or it's more like you probably saying, come on, get on the machine. So how are you getting across this understanding? How are you motivating them to behave in the way that is going to produce the best result, given that your time together is so short? Tell us more about that, how you really influence your clients.
There's
Yeah.
a real mental aspect I really haven't brought it up yet. Whole mental aspect to doing this where people come in, especially in New York City, they're kind of busy, they got a lot going on. They come in, if I can like clear their head for a few minutes anyway, clear their brain of their day, and they can focus on their muscles and the sensation of what we're going to go through in pain, discomfort, fatigue, the burning sensation, all that stuff that happens during a set. If I can get them to focus on that from a mental standpoint, it's almost like a mental break in their day. I know it is for myself personally when I train. My day is not there, just the machine, just the muscles that I'm doing, the visualization that goes on. Everybody's different what they do there. They visualize muscles or don't, or focus on the discomfort or not the discomfort, or focus on the result, or what the result's going to look like. But there is a mental aspect to this stuff that's pretty key. Um, Again, if you can get somebody's brain to focus on that muscle involved, that's where super slow comes into play so well. The slower you go, the better you can focus. Typically, if you're throwing a weight around and ratcheting through the movement, you're just throwing a weight around. You get a less result because there's less ability to mentally focus. So a lot of my people view this as a really good mental break, which is how I'm lucky enough to keep people so many years. I have some people been training 20 and 30 years very consistently, and they definitely know how to train themselves if they want to. It's my ability to get them to lock into what they're doing better than they could do on their own. So the whole mental aspect that I find to be really productive in keeping people longer and longer, have to be able to mentally take them out of their day and put them into that machine and into that muscle group and nothing else for at least that 20 minutes. So I find that to be a pretty key part of the workout also, not just like sets, reps, and get to this point, you know?
Yeah, tell me, do you know what would be really great? I'd love to hear in detail, explicit detail, your process. So when someone walks in the door, what's the process look like for that entire 20, 30-minute workout? I mean, in terms of even the greeting through to the end.
Sure. Initially, if it's a new person, I'll always email them my medical questionnaire. So they email that back to
Okay.
me before they walk in the door. So I have a visual and idea of what they have, their ailments, their aches, their pains, their old broken bones. Then when I get them in front of me, I'll ask them again. A lot of times people leave the real specific medical details out. And that's all prelim stuff that I need to know before I get all this effort out of somebody. I don't know where I can take them. If they have high blood pressure, if they're diabetic, whatever have stents in, that kind of stuff. But when I get past the medical stuff, I guess it's coming in and you got to kind of know the person's personality. Some people you can ask them, how you doing? And they'll say, I'm good, I'm ready, and this and that. And they give you 1 or 2 word answers. Some people who react, how you doing? You get an endless amount of information. It's meaningless. I really train myself with some folks to say, have a seat, begin. Literally, I didn't even say hello. Some folks, of course, being friendly is part of the deal. You have to, again, knowing your client's personality, that takes a few workouts for sure. But I guess it's knowing their medical history first, making sure the safety things are in line. I actually have their charts pre-written before they walk in the door. There's no way I can do the volume of people per day that I do, writing it out as I go. So everything for 25 sessions I'll do on Monday morning, I have every workout pre-written, kind of like a pre-written game plan. It may change when they're in front of me, depending on what they got, but at least I'm ready to roll and I have an idea on what their training is going to be. So it's me pre-writing their workout, um, being brief but cordial when they walk in the door. If I have the time between appointments, I'll actually preset the machines as best I can. I do have other trainers here, so sometimes I cannot do that. But ideally, if I pre-write my workout, preset the machines, I can spend more time getting them to breathe better, focus better, and use better form and not worry about writing down things. I'll just hit my timer, record the time on the load. Um, so I guess being cordial, I never really thought about it, but I guess being cordial, being brief in the beginning, pre-written, preset, get that person ready, get, my fans lined up, even in this cool weather we have in New York City. The bigger the person is, the more they're going to overheat. So I'll get the fans ready per machine. I usually have a fan or 3 per machine to keep them cool. Basically, the cooler I keep them, the longer they last each exercise. That takes a little bit of a hard sell for people in the beginning, because if they're new and it's 20 degrees out, and I put a fan on, like, what are you doing? But
Right.
oftentimes near the end of the set, I'll click the fan on really low and they'll be like, oh, thank God you got the air. So it's again about that intensity of effort. But in order to get intensity out of them, you have to have the other stuff done, like, be pre-planned, pre-written, preset, get them in the door, get them on the machine, leave out all the excess baggage for their day as best you can. Get them to
How?
that.
How do you do that?
Um,
How do you make sure they eliminate that excess baggage? How do you clear their head for them? What do you say?
see, my setup in the gym is real specific. Setup is lined up so you walk in the door, there are lockers, you hang yourself up, you take us a border, the restrooms are up front. When you step past the front area, you go right to the equipment. So usually that's done. I always tell people if you're not 10 minutes early, you're 5 minutes late. So ideally getting them here early is part of it too. So they're ready to roll when I'm ready to roll. I don't usually run late. I don't really believe in that. If somebody comes 15 minutes late and I got 15 minutes left, I'm going to get as much work or all work done in less time, which is going to be time. I don't let one session ever run into another. That's just not what I do. You pay for a set time. Next person after you pay for their time. So I guess it's, getting in the door, getting them on the machine as quickly as I can, and me being ready when they get on the machine with like a plan on the exercise sequence, a plan on how much effort, how I'm going to make an improvement in their workout today. Especially if I train somebody who's maybe a little quick, a little quirky, has too much caffeine. I know I got to try to slow them down. So I'll give them cues in the beginning of the set, like, really begin as slow as you can possibly begin. Try to take 3 seconds of the first inch. I mean, all stuff that super slow trainers know. Um, it's starting the first few repetitions as slow as they can start it. As they fatigue in the set, their fatigue will slow them down. So then those cues become meaningless. But it's kind of cueing them in the beginning of the set to start as slowly as they can. So they kind of sync their head with their muscles and their breathing with their muscles, getting them to go slow enough to feel what they're doing and to embrace it. Sometimes I'll joke about it, even though I'm the most painful part of the day. I'm going to be the most productive part of the day. However I can get that. And these are pretty successful people in general. And I'm going to ask you to fail on an exercise. That also is a hard sell. But then again, if I get those beginning things right, they get the idea. They kind of get right into the exercise quicker without speaking about their day and everything else. All
Mhm.
stuff with them. If I can get them on that machine quicker to try to get them to that last meaningful rep that makes a difference. That's really my goal. All the stuff that I do, the fans, the writing, the setting the equipment up, verbally never, also as they do the set, verbally never saying anything negative while they're doing it. I make real specific cues on that. I'll only say,
Yeah, just
don't,
elaborate on that for the audience. So what you mean by that? Yeah.
as they're doing an exercise, you have all their attention. You can also almost call it hypnosis because it's a heightened state of awareness. When I have
Mm.
somebody on a leg press and they have a great deal of pain, I have all their attention. So when you get all their attention, what you say to them will really sink in pretty well. If you can say briefly in a positive manner to continue an exercise and cue them calmly, they'll continue moving slowly. Near the end of the set, when they get fatigued, then they might have to shake and vibrate and all the other stuff that goes on near the end of the set. Um, if you get them to keep breathing, keep pushing, and what I call fail perfectly, that's usually a good set. But it takes a while to get somebody to that. Everybody comes in with different mental capabilities. Some people can focus really quickly. Some people can let go of their ego and get you right, give you all their effort right away. Some people can't get past in the beginning. Oh my God, he's going to make me fail. I'm the successful guy making $1 billion a freaking year. Who cares? That's another part of the day. I let them know that pretty much up front. When I talk to somebody initially, I let them know what they've done before can be meaningful and meaningless. Sometimes people come to me, they've been lifting for 20 years, doing it wrong. I'm like, we got to let go of that belief. I'm hopefully going to show you something that's safer, better, more productive. So I let them know that. Also, about the food stuff, I let them know in the beginning that I can get anybody stronger if they show up and give me effort, but I can't get you leaner unless you eat less. So I let them know before I take their money. That's a phone conversation in the beginning. Our first 10 minutes of talking to somebody. If they say, well, one of my goals is to lose 20 pounds, I'm like, can you eat less? Can you go to sleep a little bit hungry? I don't care what diet plan you do, whether it's, one big meal, intermittent fasting, which is the latest craze, or keto, whatever it is. Ideally, you want to manage your hunger and try to eat, you know, small meals throughout the day to govern your hunger. Or if the 1 meal a day or 2 meals a day works for you, that's fine too. But however you cut it, you have to be comfortable with cutting your calories a little bit and going to sleep a little hungry.
Mm-hmm.
And I let people
Yeah.
know up front, if you're not a little hungry at the end of the day, you need to cut calories. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I'm just honest in the beginning, about caloric intake, about effort I'm going to X out of them. And they kind of pick up on it the first few moves. I mean, everybody's different another line I use often is I don't metabolically devastate somebody I don't know. So that first workout is about learning form and technique. I make that really clear, but ideally got to give them a little taste of taking the taking their muscles to the edge of failure. Otherwise they won't come back. And they
Right.
got to get an idea of it, especially when you're asking them to do one set per exercise. And maybe they come from a belief where they're doing 4 sets of 20 or whatever
Right.
crap is out there nowadays. It's about, narrowing their focus to doing one set really well. And then all the steps I do, I try to get that focus down to that one set, that one rep at the end. It's going to make the difference.
Today's episode is sponsored by Imagine Strength, the game changer in safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training machines. When it comes to HIIT, Imagine Strength is your go-to for intelligently designed, efficient, and affordable equipment. Their team is passionate about HIIT, and it shows in every piece they craft. So why are Imagine Strength the right choice? Number one, they tailor-make their equipment for HIIT studios. Number two, they provide cost-effective solutions for your business. And number three, they are committed to ongoing innovation and refinement. Ready to take your HIIT business to the next level? Visit imaginestrength.com to discuss your needs and find the perfect gear for your studio. Join the HIIT revolution of Imagine Strength and transform your workout experience today. Well, let's talk about that. You said that, again, in the preamble to this, you were saying you see a lot of people focused on a lot of different protocols, and you were talking about get to the rep that counts, is how you put it.
Right.
Expand on that. Like where this, and maybe this is where you see perhaps some people in HIIT go in the wrong direction.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of things out there. Like doing negative only training is great. It can be really productive. Doing super statics or static only, exercise is great. I've done it. I do parts of it now for sure. But sometimes a trainer, I've seen in the years I'm doing this, where a trainer will get bored with a protocol, not necessarily because it's not working, because they're bored. So, okay, I'm going to do Ellington Darden 30 seconds up, 30 seconds down on a chin up. Why? When a pull down's working well, it's safe, it's productive, person's joints are okay, you're not asking them to do something they can't do at all. But a trainer will change a protocol due to something they've read, seen, or heard, rather than maybe test it out on themselves or test it out on a client briefly and see if it works. All the advanced stuff is all fine and dandy, but get somebody just to do a good set and a good rep to the point where they can't do another one with good form. And that result is so great. And it's so much easier for that client to grasp. It's so uncomplicated, yet so productive. Doing a good set versus doing a negative only set. Like negative only training can be greatly productive, but tremendously risky, and risky for both people, the trainer and trainee, because the trainer's got to pick the weight up for them. If I can bench press 200 pounds, that means negatively I might be able to handle 400 pounds or 350 or give or take. So that trainer might be really strong and pick the weight up. And maybe for the first 2 or 3 reps, it's easy. But then as the transfer, when I pick the weight up and hand it off to my client, that client is now fatigued. They hold the lock position for a second, then they drop it. And that's really dangerous and unproductive. So that's where the negative only stuff, I've seen be productive. If you have, like, if I was going to train somebody in a negative only fashion only, I'd probably have me and another trainer safely pick the weight up. And it'd have to be somebody really advanced. Like I've done it myself with my other trainers. We train each other sometimes, but that's only briefly and once in a while for fun, for variety. I would never really introduce it to anybody new. Personally, I wouldn't do it. I've never seen a result be so much better doing like negative only stuff versus doing a basic good super slow set. Personally, I've never seen that result be that much better, yet a much higher risk in doing this advanced principle versus having somebody do, a basic principle really, really well.
Yeah, I hear you.
Go ahead. My evidence is just anecdotal. It's just on the volume of people I'm training. So I have no.
Still very interesting all the same. Mm-hmm. How often do your clients train on average?
At most twice a week.
Okay. So do you have a mixture of some that do twice, some that do once? Is that how it's spread? Yeah.
Especially after COVID with people working just 3 days a week, being in the city less. Some people are only sitting 1 to 2 days a week. So
Mhm.
they'll one workout in. Others train twice. I've seen twice a week be a little more productive overall for people who want to lose weight. And then I do burn their stored sugar very effectively. We do burn stored carbohydrate in this high intensity world that we're in. So I get somebody twice a week. It's just going to be better for that than once a week. And I've
Mhm.
seen people also be a little more disciplined with their food, with their eating, if they're training twice per week versus once a week.
Right. And
So,
have you always trained in the city, or have you got experience training in more suburban locations in the past?
hey, my introduction working here in the city back in the 80s was because I worked out at a YMCA in East New York, Queens, East New York's Brooklyn. I
Yep.
trained locker room attendant for this place called the Atrium Club back in the 80s, which was a very high-end club. At the time, it was like a $3,000 initiation fee and a couple $100 per month in dues. This is going back in 1984. And I trained a locker room attendant, and he lost about 20 pounds. And when he came to work, the people who worked there were like, "What are you doing?" Well, I don't train with the trainers in this club. I train with this guy at the East New York YMCA twice a week, and this is what we're doing. That was my introduction to getting into the city by getting this locker room guy, Victor, getting him this great result way back when. Again, I just asked effort. Back then in the 80s, there was no super slow, but my exposure to meeting Mike Mentzer in 1981,
Yeah.
he's of course a high trained people. Before that, I was a Nautilus instructor at a Nautilus center. But meeting Mike in person in 1981 made a big impression on me. And just physically, he was so much bigger and thicker than all the bodybuilders of that era. And he was doing 1 or 2 sets per movement back then, uh, which was so much briefer. Back then, people were training 6 days a week, 2 hours a shot, training like Arnold did back in the 80s, and
Right.
70s. But
Right.
Mike came in and said, "This is what I do." Uh,
Help me. I'm just curious because the reason I asked that as well is what's it like, running a hit facility like yours in the city, right? In Madison Avenue, what's that like? And how do you think it differs from a lot of our colleagues that do high intensity training, like in terms of what it's like running the business, the pros and cons, the type of clientele, etc.?
mhm. Well, in this city, I can look out my window right in and see a gym on one corner. I'm on 54th and Madison. There's a gym on 53rd and Madison, another gym on 55th and Madison. I can see. So visibly, there's a lot of population density, though, not as much after code as before, but there is tremendous competition. And we vary greatly. Uh, going down the block to this boxing gym, they're doing calisthenics for hours. And here I'm doing, 5 sets with you, or 5 to 8 exercises at one
Right.
city. So they're very, very different. Um, I guess the appeal of this is the briefness of it for people. The fact you can get a result, live life, still work a full job, keep the gym so cool. Oftentimes you don't have to change. Um, so all those are pluses to like the business executive who needs to work out and get back to his job, get back to his family after work, can't go to a gym and just hang out and do, 10 sets of bench presses with their buddies because they have lives and families. So I guess I'm the appeal of that, the opposite of that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because you mentioned you haven't done any marketing any really since the late
Not,
90s.
not a thing.
Whereas I'm sure many of those competitors are putting a ton of
Endless.
investment into advertising, and maybe that speaks to your differentiation, and that's why you continue to do so well in such a competitive area because you're clearly different, right? And it's just
Really,
a
what I'm
testament to that.
looking at here is a very small building. It's a seven-story building. I have the top 2 floors, 7 and 6, in a very big area. Like there's 340-story buildings out my window here. So again, that
Yeah.
population density and being in a small building, my rent is manageable, though brutal. It is manageable. And Lord knows this is a deep building. I have, rooster leak, elevators that break. Um, More stuff goes on here than I could possibly mention. But nonetheless, it's 7 floors and it's a gym. So you
What
should be
it,
able to walk the stairs, you know.
right? Yeah. Maybe not. Maybe not afterwards.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Help me understand that D building listed as D. Is it? What does that mean?
It's run poorly. I
Oh,
run, I run my gym really well, but the elevator just came online today. It's been out since Monday. So
okay.
I had this funny sign. I should have took a picture of it. Funny sign in the lobby saying it's only 100 steps to get to the gym. Take steps, burn calories. It's
Right.
just allow an extra 5 minutes to walk the steps if you need 5, 10 minutes, whatever. But people know me really well. Like I never, if you can't walk the steps, just stay home. I don't,
Do you know
I don't,
my? Go ahead.
I have some older folks too, like, in their 80s who had knee replacements, hip replacements, things like that. And they know that it's going to walk the steps, take the time. You should be strong enough from doing this to be able to walk steps. You know,
Interesting. Yeah,
I'm
for
just like,
sure.
if you can, I'm not doing my job. Can't let that
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah. My local gym, I don't know whether you'll love or hate this, has a stairs as a stairwell and an elevator, short stairwell, like 2 flights. And each step has written underneath it the number of calories you're burning, right? Like it's like 0.1, 0 point, like it's in decimals, and I'm just like,
That's a great
you know,
idea.
it is a great idea. It's funny how you celebrate that, because it does motivate people, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, we can obviously debate that another day. Awesome. Where to go from here? Go on. Yeah.
No, I make light of the building's defects to keep people, happy coming in. So I
Sure.
have to, you know,
Yes.
ideally, I would have, if I ran the building, the elevator would never break. I have preventative maintenance
Mhm,
stuff per week or per month, but they don't do that here.
mhm.
The roof leaks that I do have, I would patch, but they're cheap, especially after COVID in my building and in my 7 floors. I'm the top 2 floors, and we have a deli in the bottom floor and nothing in between. And there is
Right.
a tremendous amount of empty commercial space in the city since COVID. It's still empty. So,
But you're doing remarkably well in spite of that, in
yeah.
spite of COVID. Did you just bounce back really effectively after things reopened? How did it go?
It was a slow bounce back here in the city, for sure, really slow because of the vaccine and some people believed in it, some people didn't.
Mhm.
Uh, Initially, everyone wore a mask here. I have literally still have it. I have on my windowsills probably over 50,000 alcohol wipes, and each windowsill, which there are probably 15 of them, has 1 gallon hand sanitizer still. So I keep that out there for people to use. But initially, it was probably the slowest comeback I've ever had from anything. Because people just trickled back into the
Okay.
city very mildly in the beginning, because nobody was sure what was going on or not going on, or who to believe and not to believe. You know,
Was there fear, going into a facility, even a city like yours where there's only a couple one-on-ones happening at once, maybe?
yeah. What I found out really early on. I have 2 floors and 4,000 square feet, so pretty spread
Yeah.
out. I can play 2 or 3 trainers here at a time. But what I learned early on, probably it was May of 2020. We got closed in March of 2020. May of 2020, one of my real estate people let me know about the filtration systems in the AC units. They have something called MERV 13 filters, which is a grade of filter that can pull the virus out of the air. So I very quickly got that way before other people did. So knowing that, my people came back a little better, a little quicker than most.
Right.
No specific detail.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. How do you manage your clientele? Like, do you do you have like software that you use, Lou, or is it a basic setup?
I, Software. Well, how do you mean? I'm sorry, I don't know.
No, I mean, so I'm just because you got me thinking now. How did you communicate that with all your clients? Do you just text them all? Do you have email, or
uh
do you use email software? The reason I bring this up is because there's a lot of people in our space who aren't technical, don't use this stuff,
Right,
and
right.
do very well. And I'm just curious. Yeah.
I found I could text 20 people at a time. So
Okay.
I had 6 groups of 20, and I
Mm.
did 20 at a time. I sent them text updates as to what I was doing. I let them know to look at my Facebook it was September 2020, when I got my 3-hour inspection done in my gym. I let them know I was open and legally open anyway, in September 2020, showing the citation they gave me in September on my Facebook page, and clicked on that. Again, I texted in groups of 20. I texted them the copy of that.
Got it.
I had,
So
I
this,
had a lot of
go
I
ahead.
had a lot of free time, so that's for
Yeah,
sure.
didn't we all? Well, kind of. I had a young baby, so I had none really. But uh, and I have a story that I thought we would finish on from our mutual friend Pete Cerqua, because I asked for some questions, and he said when Lou and I first started selling our HIIT workouts, clients would routinely pass out from the workout. Lou had cases of juice boxes on hand because we had to get their blood sugar levels back up so they could stand up again. The workout was 15 minutes, but it would take 45 minutes before they could stand up and leave without falling down again. By the early afternoon, the gym looked like a crime scene with all the bodies laying around. Do you remember that?
It was 1997 when I opened up in July of 97. I was unaware of the need to keep my gym cool. It was all the locations I
Right.
shared, because before this were basic gyms. no real AC system that kind of worked, kind of didn't work, but I had one fan. Now I literally have over 45 fans per floor, per machine, per floor. But back then I didn't know the importance of it. I knew, well, it was a chapter in Ken Hudson's book, Keep People Cool, They Last Long. I'm like, whatever. He's in Florida. What does he know? We literally had people lining up to throw up. Best thing one time, to add to what Pete said, at the time I had a black rubber floor. One of his clients was laying there and he gets chalk and he draws the chalk line around. And we chalk marked there for a couple of days. It was hysterical. But yeah, it was me learning the importance of keeping people cool, because we went into this, we would train people in I'd say a normal speed fashion, like normal protocol was 2 seconds up, 4 seconds down, or somewhere close to it. When we switched to super slow, which was 97 when they opened up here, and we asked people to go even slower and give even more effort, they were getting closer to blacking out and throwing up kind of regularly. So we did have people lined up to go throw up pretty. After I want to say it was probably like by September and October, I realized I needed all these fans, or at least a semblance of what I have now, to cool people down, at least per machine. Because you find is, even if your AC system is so slow, it was at the time here, if a fan hits you as you perspire, you cool the person down by drying the sweat that evaporates. So an evaporation system in your body kicks in, and your core temperature, your body temperature stays low enough that you don't get pukey and you don't get woozy to black out. So I realized probably in the first 2 months, I needed to get a fan at least per each machine to let that wind hit them as they were perspiring.
Mm-hmm.
But initially, I didn't realize that at all. We just had people exactly like you said. That's all true.
Yeah, that's so funny. So just we've got I guess a couple of minutes here. You've been in this game for obviously so long and learned so much through your experience and from mentors, obviously people like Mike Mentzer, Ken Hutchins, etc. I'm always curious to know, like, when you look at the wider high intensity training landscape, trainers, business owners, what do you see? Let me think. Yeah, I wrote down a couple. I wanted to get this right. What do you tell me something about high intensity training, or maybe running the business? It can be exercise or business. That's true that you think almost nobody agrees with you on.
Nobody agrees with me. I know what I've seen online sometimes. People's personal trainers of super slow world, of the high intensity world, cueing people using meaningless words. Stop, go, push, pull, whatever. I mean, some of that's meaningful at a certain time, but it doesn't narrow anybody's focus. I get it. Once you train somebody a period of time, their form will be good and you'll expect something out of them. But ideally, if you can cue them a little bit better or use something a little more creative, like I said before, nothing negative, work the turnarounds in depth.
Can you give us some examples of stuff that you would say with certain clients?
Let's see, I'll go back to like a leg press, begin by barely beginning. Give me 3 seconds on the first inch. Try to touch upon the endpoints. This is again before they stop set. Try to touch upon the endpoints very lightly. Move as slowly as you can between the endpoints. I guess near the end of a set of like a rowing motion or a pushing motion, you give that cue after they're really fatigued, to pull or push as fast as they can when you know they can't go fast. That at least give them a little more time under load. If you say just hold the weight versus just pull the weight, holding the weight, typically I've seen it where they just kind of give up sooner, versus when they look like they're going to fail. On a pulling motion, let's say a row motion, I would tell them to pull as fast as they can. That might give me an extra 5 or 10 seconds, or maybe even longer, rather than ask them to just continue to hold, ask for more effort when they're the most fatigued. Time it so you got that kind of figured out to rip out all the effort you can, because that's what's going to make the difference at the end of the set. That last rep, cueing them to just give you the most effort you can. I'm trying to think of maybe give them
Put you on the spot.
Again, if I'm thinking of what I do. If you know their personality type and they look like they're going to fatigue and want to put it down, if you give them a count, like give me 10 more seconds, give me 5 more seconds, they're going to give it to you because they don't want to fail. They don't want to fail you. They want to fail themselves. Like, okay, I can't hold it, but I'll pull for 5 more seconds. And that might make the difference. So it's giving the proper cues at the proper time. And a lot of what I see online is like, again, let's talk about all these high intensity principles. How about you just cue them well enough, get their focus down enough that they're going to give you all the effort they can, versus looking for the next method,
Right. Yeah. Well said. Good. Great point. Great to just reiterate the importance of that. Lou, I know you've got clients stacked up, and I want to give you a few minutes breathing time here. So I just want to say thank you so much for making the time. And where can we send people if they want to learn more about you or connect with you? Don't have to give your email; it's up to you. But you can maybe drop a website or whatever. Yeah.
No, my email is letter U, the word trainer, utrainer at AOL.com. I've had that email since I guess 1990, so that's the same email.
Okay.
That'd be a spot. Just an email. I don't really have much of a website either.
Yeah.
Not right now.
No. Yeah. Well, so you don't. I think the website. Well, there is one website. Yeah, we have to get into that. Go ahead. Yeah.
It's a simple page. Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah.
I've been doing that. I realize it's something that is important, but
Yeah. Well, no, we could talk about that more offline. But Lou, yeah, I mean, thanks again. Appreciate you sharing your email there, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. I certainly have. It's been fascinating.
Right.
It's Lawrence with High Intensity Business. Thanks again, Lou. Thanks everyone for listening.
Thank you.
This episode is brought to you by Imagine Strength, your go-to for safe, simple, and effective high-intensity training equipment. Growing a successful high-intensity training business requires workout equipment that's not only high quality, but also intelligently designed to fit the unique needs of your studio. And that's where Imagine Strength comes in. Drawing on the wisdom of the legendary Arthur Jones, Imagine Strength has crafted a groundbreaking line of fitness equipment that's as affordable as it is efficient, giving your studio the upgrade it needs without breaking the bank. The team at Imagine Strength breathes HIIT. Their passion for high-intensity training shines through in their designs, which they've consistently refined and innovated for optimum effectiveness and user experience. From my personal experience at Rec, I can attest to the careful consideration and craftsmanship that goes into every single piece. My Imagine Strength workout was absolutely brutal, in a good way, of course. Now, what makes Imagine Strength truly stand out? They have innovative equipment tailored for the unique needs of HIIT studios, affordable and efficient designs, lowering the barriers to entry for a HIIT business, continuous innovation and refinement ensuring your studio stays ahead of the curve. Founder Jeff Turner and his team are dedicated to moving the HIIT industry forward and making strength training accessible to more people than ever before. Here's how you get started. Number 1, visit imaginestrength.com. Number 2, discuss your specific needs with the team. And number 3, select the equipment that will propel your business to the next level. Head to imaginestrength.com today and give your HIIT business the Imagine Strength edge. Be part of the HIIT revolution and see firsthand how their unique equipment can transform your studio's workout experience. Elevate your HIIT business with Imagine Strength.
Let's go.